Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. The release date for Chapter 1 of Beyond has now been set, and it's up for the 27th of February, so that means that this time next week, everyone's going to have access to the game on the live servers. That includes all players on all platforms. Now Frontier have also released a brief trailer for the update, highlighting some of the content, along with one or two upcoming mysteries. And the one at the end of the trailer looks particularly interesting, as it does seem to be Guardian related. As usual though, with these types of trailers, it's very difficult to actually judge what it's all about. After all, it's only a very brief image at the end of the trailer, so who knows? But there are some suggestions out there that, well, it definitely seems to be Guardian related, and it could be related to either new Guardian technology or something to do with the Guardian ruins. At any rate then, with the release date now set, I'd love to go over my thoughts on what we saw in the beta of Chapter 1. I won't necessarily cover every aspect of the update here, as I've already made a bunch of videos during the beta, but this is going to be more of a summary of what I thought about the update as a whole. So then, in general, what are people looking forward to, and what am I going to be looking forward to, and what areas were a bit of a disappointment during the beta. Also, do keep in mind that it's likely there's going to be a few tweaks and changes from what we saw in beta compared to what we're going to get in the final release, and Frontier have discussed a few of those. So then, let's start with my favourite thing about the update, planets. These had an immense improvement with the Beyond update, and after planets having been stuck in a kind of beige limbo for well over a year to 18 months, it's great to finally see planets back on track. Now, whilst this update doesn't have much effect on geometry of the planet, the coloration nevertheless has had long overdue improvements. During beta, I spent a fair amount of time looking at all the variations in planets. I think it's going to be enough to keep me engaged with the exploration, at least until the exploration update arrives with Chapter 4, along with other planetary improvements that are due at the end of the year. Overall then, I feel that planets are now the best they have ever been, at least in terms of general coloration, but looking over some of the older locations, along with some of my older footage, there used to be some very special locations which Chapter 1 still fails to recapture, at least from what I've seen. The green planet here is a good example of that. Even better is the geological features of the crater that you can see right here. Now, whilst I wouldn't expect to see green planets out there necessarily, I would love to see craters just like this one, with the ridges and the mountains and everything else therein. So if any of you did find locations similar to this during beta, I'd certainly love to hear from you. Do let me know. So then, the new planets should certainly be making for some very interesting episodes of my exploration series, Discovery, and I'll be making some of them very soon over the coming weeks. Megaships have been in the game for a long while now, and stylistically, they've always been extremely impressive. Unfortunately though, in terms of functionality, they've always been fairly limited, with only the ones players are able to dock at having any real use. The new Megaship gameplay is certainly a step in the right direction though. However, I'm still yet to be convinced whether it will actually be worthwhile in terms of reward versus effort. The way the interactions with the Megaships functions is actually pretty engaging, and it does give players a number of avenues as to how they want to approach each situation. Whether they want to steal data, take down the ship's defences, or steal its cargo. It's nice to have choices, and this is exactly what the game should be about, and more additions like this are very welcome. Yet, like I said, without any decent rewards here, this gameplay could become a repeating loop that only holds a limited interest. Time will tell though on this one, as the rewards for the Megaship interactions were still being balanced when I last looked at beta, and Frontier have said that they do want to improve this particular aspect. Frontier are also planning for further future improvements to these scenarios, with a possibility that they just may introduce a feature where the Megaship starts requesting assistance from all players in the area when it comes under attack from another player, so that would be very interesting if it's something that they can actually get in there. Now, it's no secret that the engineers are not my favourite part of the game, far from it in fact, but I do appreciate that many people really do enjoy this aspect of the game, and I'm always willing to give any changes a fair chance. The new engineer system is, for the most part, a massive improvement over the previous implementation. The idea of allowing players to have a guaranteed upgrade path to work towards means that I'm much more likely to use the engineers more frequently, and I would imagine many other players feel likewise. For many players, the new system is going to make it far easier for them to get the exact upgrade that they want or need. Frontier also made a number of further improvements to the system during beta, which really did reduce the time requirements for players to get from grade 1 to grade 5. Generally speaking then, the new upgrade path should be far more intuitive and a much simpler process, and this is pretty much a perfect compromise for all players. However, I do still maintain that there are a subset of players out there who will have problems with the new system, and these are the type of players who spent as little time as possible with the engineers, and they simply sought the first grade 5 upgrade they were actually offered. Now, I do count myself among these types of players, and for me, with the previous system, I really had to actually go and hunt or search for any materials, as I nearly always had whatever I needed for a single upgrade to grade 5. Time will tell though whether the new system works in favour of this particular playstyle, but it does seem though that there's going to be a few more hoops to jump through. I found the material trader to be a fantastic addition to the game, and I really do suspect its importance will only increase as people start using tech brokers on a regular basis. New modules from the tech brokers have pretty significant unlock requirements, so the material trader is going to be a massive boon for this aspect of the game. That said though, I'd certainly like to see some adjustments made to the trading ratios of some of the material exchanges here. Whilst it's only fair that the trade should result in a small loss to the players, some of the trading options here remind me of going into one of those high street electronic exchange shops where they buy a product from you at the lowest possible price and then sell it on at close to retail price. Great business for the trader then, and certainly convenient for the user, but not perhaps the most fair it could be. Of course, Chapter 1 comes with the Chieftain, one of the best ships introduced into the game for a very long time in my opinion, and one I know a lot of players are very excited for. I really did enjoy my time with the Chieftain, and I suspect it will soon become my go-to ship for pretty much everything except for long-distance jumping or trading. Not only is it a very nice looking ship, but it also handles very well, and whilst some people have pointed out that the handling of the ship is not really to their preference, for me, I found it to be very much fitting of my flight style. So of course I'm looking forward to putting it through its paces over the next few weeks and testing out various builds. Talking of which, if you actually come up with any interesting builds during beta, I'd love to hear about them, and I'm sure many other people would love to hear about them as well. There's plenty of other things coming in the update as well, from small quality of life updates to some larger changes that I just haven't talked about in this video, but do have a look back during the beta videos and you'll see many of those things. One of them was the trading update, which in particular is something I'm really happy about. Whilst I still do really believe that trading could be taken much further within the game, the changes in Chapter 1 are still a great improvement, and I suspect they're going to get a lot more people into trading. So overall then, the update is looking very good. There are signs that Frontier are starting to bring various elements of the game together into a single cohesive whole, with them making various systems interconnect with each other. It also seems this trend will continue into the rest of the year, with hints that just maybe mining and exploration will connect back into trading and missions. How I view Chapter 1 overall then really does depend on what angle I look at it from. As a standalone update, it's probably one of the best updates for a very long time, but one nonetheless that doesn't go quite far enough with many of its changes and improvements. For example, the new trading tools are a brilliant addition, although a complete overhaul to the commodity market screen would have certainly been much nicer. The new megaship scenarios are much needed, yet having them tie into the mission system would have perhaps made a lot more sense. On the other hand though, when looking at this update as the first part of a series of updates, then those smaller half steps certainly seem to make a lot more sense, as they're going to be built upon across the rest of the course of Season 3. Now whilst the update doesn't fix my fundamental problems with certain areas of the game, such as the engineers, it does, on the other hand, exceed my expectations with some other aspects, such as the improvements to planets, and the introduction of mission reward choices and wing missions, which, whilst basic in some regards, still highlights the direction the game is heading in. Bottom line then, I'm still keeping an eye towards the future updates as they build upon what is still missing from this game, whilst at the same time, I'm very much looking forward to the 27th of February and what Chapter 1 does bring. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.